还不停的下，你看，一楼的铺面都快要满到广告牌了，怎么办呀？这次损失好大哦。
台风正式登陆，真正台风喽！
What began as a relatively modest tropical storm quickly turned into one of the most disruptive weather events of the season. Within just over a day, Tropical Storm Maysak made not one, but two landfalls, bringing record-breaking rainfall, severe flooding, and widespread transportation chaos across southern China and northern Vietnam. Although its winds never reached the strength of a powerful typhoon, Maysak proved that a storm doesn't need extreme winds to become extremely dangerous. Instead, it unleashed relentless rain that flooded cities, disrupted travel, and raised fears of landslides and river flooding across the region. Here's everything you need to know. Tropical Storm Maysak formed rapidly over the South China Sea in the early hours of July 3, 2026. Meteorologists watched the system strengthen quickly before it moved toward China's Hainan Island, becoming the first tropical cyclone to make landfall in China this year. At approximately 6:20 p.m. local time on July 3rd, Maysak made its first landfall near Yelin Town in Lingshui-Li Autonomous County on Hainan's southeastern coast. At the time, the storm carried maximum sustained winds of around 83 kilometers per hour, classifying it as a tropical storm rather than a full typhoon. But despite its moderate wind speeds, the storm carried an enormous amount of tropical moisture. As Maysak crossed Hainan Island, torrential rain began falling across southern and central parts of the province. The city of Sanya recorded an astonishing 351.5 millimeters of rain in just one day, breaking the city's July rainfall record. Videos shared online showed streets transformed into rivers, vehicles partially submerged, large trees uprooted by strong gusts, and waves crashing violently along the coastline. In several neighborhoods, floodwaters reportedly reached thigh-deep levels, leaving residents struggling to move through submerged streets. The impact on transportation was immediate. Authorities suspended operations at Sanya Phoenix International Airport, forcing the cancellation of more than 90 flights. The island's entire high-speed rail network was shut down, while passenger ferry services across the Cheongjo Strait were suspended as dangerous sea conditions developed. Thousands of travelers suddenly found themselves stranded as officials prioritized public safety ahead of worsening weather. After crossing Hainan, Maysak entered the Beibu Gulf, also known internationally as the Gulf of Tonkin. Although the storm weakened slightly over water, it maintained its moisture and continued moving toward northern Vietnam. On the evening of July 4th, roughly 27 hours after its first landfall, Maysak struck again.
你看，水都快淹到一楼的广告牌了，一楼的门面全部被淹。
The second landfall occurred along Vietnam's Quang Ninh coastline as a strong tropical storm, bringing another round of heavy rain and strong winds to coastal communities before the system gradually weakened inland. Even as the storm lost strength, meteorologists warned that the greatest danger was far from over. Instead of destructive winds, attention shifted toward prolonged rainfall. As Maysak interacted with the seasonal monsoon, an extensive rain band spread across Guangxi, Guangdong, Guizhou, Hunan, and neighboring regions. Rivers began rising rapidly, while saturated hillsides increased the threat of landslides and mudflows. Authorities warned that flooding could continue long after the storm itself had dissipated. Government agencies across China responded aggressively before the storm's arrival.
mafi. Shafi Arab.
More than 23,000 people were evacuated in Guangdong province alone, including offshore workers and residents living in vulnerable coastal areas. China's National Meteorological Center issued storm warnings, while emergency response levels were elevated across Hainan and Guangxi. Rescue teams, flood control personnel, and emergency management officials were placed on standby as the storm approached. In Vietnam, the National Civil Defense Committee also activated emergency measures. Fishing boats were guided safely back to harbor using weather radar, vulnerable communities prepared for evacuation, and local authorities strengthened flood defenses while urging residents to remain alert. These precautionary actions appear to have made a significant difference. As of the latest official reports, there have been no confirmed large-scale fatalities directly linked to Tropical Storm Maysak. While damage assessments are still ongoing, officials credit early warnings, transportation shutdowns, and timely evacuations with helping reduce the risk to human life. Meteorologists say Maysak serves as another reminder that tropical storms cannot be judged by wind speed alone. The storm's relatively slow movement allowed rain clouds to linger over the same locations for hours. Combined with Hainan's mountainous terrain and abundant tropical moisture, rainfall intensified dramatically. Later, interaction with the summer monsoon extended heavy rain far inland, creating flood risks hundreds of kilometers from the original landfall. It is a textbook example of what experts often describe as a weak storm with a major rainfall impact. Now, as the remnants of Maysak continue weakening over southern China, emergency crews remain focused on monitoring rivers, clearing flooded roads, and watching for secondary disasters such as landslides and mudslides. Many communities are only beginning to assess the full extent of agricultural losses, infrastructure damage, and economic impacts. For now, the storm may be fading, but the recovery is only just beginning. As the peak typhoon season continues across the South China Sea, weather experts are reminding residents throughout the region that preparation remains the strongest defense. Tropical Storm Maysak has shown that even a moderate storm can leave behind extraordinary consequences, not because of its winds, but because of the immense volume of rain it carries. And that lesson could prove critical in the months ahead. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll continue bringing you the latest updates on major weather events from around the world.
Oh, 这他妈怎么磨车啊？